being in the program just taught me like I have to do revenue generating activities, and everything else is a third and a fourth priority. So every day, the number one thing is to generate revenue. And that's what your leaders want you to do too. Knowing that they're not going to buy is just as important as ones that are going to buy, so that you do know where to focus your time. If they don't want to talk to you, then don't spend your time there. And then every morning I have a really thick post-it note right here, and I write down like, what are the things that I need to do today before anything else gets done? What are those things that need to move the needle? And I make sure that no matter what, that those things get done.
Do you ever get imposter syndrome? All right, welcome everyone to this month's Fireside Chat. This is your opportunity to learn from top sellers, what they're doing in the field, what's working. And I'm so excited to have Christina Godwin in the house today. She is a Untap Your Sales Potential alumni. She came from our program and she's had a tremendous amount of success, and it's only continuing to get more and more in her career. She works at Workday. She's one of their top performing enterprise AEs. She's been there for 9 years. And what impressed me most about Christina was her consistency. So get ready. So she's been over 150% of plan for the past 6 consecutive years. And her W-2 has never fallen below 500K during that period. So we talk about consistent income. Christina's living it. Extreme discipline, extreme focus on RGAs. And what impresses me most about Christina is she is working a 9 to 5, a true 9 to 5, not burning the midnight oil, not working nights and weekends. She applies the 80-20 rule with ruthless discipline, eliminates low value tasks, pretty much practices everything that we preach and Untap Your Sales Potential, and secures executive alignment in all of her deals. Otherwise, she doesn't spend time with it if it's not qualified. And she attributes much of her success to embracing the mindset, time management, and selling frameworks that she learned through Untap Your Sales Potential. And today, she's passionate about giving back to the sales community, sharing her Make Your Work Count philosophy with other high performers. And I'm thrilled to share she will be coming to our mastermind as one of our guest speakers. So you guys are hearing that for the first time next month. Aren't you in Georgia? You're pretty close, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm in Atlanta, so very close to Barnsley.
I love it. So it worked out perfectly. So
Yeah.
the big thing about Christina is she got 2 kids, 4 and 6. So she's doing all of this as a working mom, which I respect so much. I have 2 boys, and I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. So
Sometimes I don't really either. So yeah.
let's dive in. Let's kind of start at the beginning. Christina, first of all, welcome. Thank you for sharing your wisdom today, and it's so great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm really looking forward to chatting with all of you today and hopefully get some questions at the end so I can learn a little bit more about you all too. But thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, my first question is, what drew you into enterprise sales, and how have you stayed motivated? Because a lot of people, they ebb and flow with the motivation, but your consistency is pretty impressive. So how do you stay motivated every year, and what kind of drew you in to enterprise sales? Not 9 years is a long time at one company. So tell me more.
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me here. I'm really excited to share some things with you all today. So I think, 9 years is a long time in a company. I definitely drink the Workday Kool-Aid. I'm very grateful for the company that I work for. I think it's really important to work for a company that you like to work for, that hires good people, that you have friends that kind of support you along the way, and also sells a really great product. So I'm grateful to be at Workday. Um, I want to kind of start out with just a quick like background story. I think it's important to understand, like when you think about what motivates people, to kind of understand a little bit about their background and where they come from. So if that's okay, I'm going to give you a really quick snippet of how I got to Workday
Please.
today and into enterprise sales. Um, so I am from Savannah, Georgia. I don't know if you guys know Forrest Gump. right? It's filmed there. I'm sure most of you have at least half of the girls in here have been on a bachelorette party to Savannah. It's like the bachelorette capital of the world now. Um,
It's
so
past Nashville or Austin.
yeah, exactly. So I grew up in Savannah. I come from a very blue collar family. So my dad worked in a plant at a paper mill, and my mom was an assistant at the ports. And so I'm the only person in my family that went to college. I went to a small school in Southeast Georgia. Most of you probably haven't heard of it. It was Valdosta State University. So not like a big SEC school, but I did go there and graduated with an accounting and finance degree. Because I am the only person in my family that went to college, I did have, to have to finance my education. So I thought, what are the two things that are definitely going to get me a job you know, outside of graduation? And tax was one of them. So graduated with an accounting degree, was lucky enough to move to Atlanta right after college. My old college girlfriend, she her grandmother had just passed away, which was really sad, but her dad still owned the house. So he's like, you guys can go live there for free. So I'm like, great. I have no money. I'm like 21 years old. Sounds great. We'll go to Atlanta. So I knew that I wanted to get a job at one of the big four firms. So I networked my way into doing that very quickly, which was great and really kind of was a launching pad for my career. Um, and so I worked in tax for 4 years at Deloitte and then went and worked for a Deloitte client. That was when I realized that tax was not for me. I put in my resignation. The SVP of tax was like, you don't belong here. You need to go to sales. Like, you are not like the rest of these people. And so I took a big leap and I went into dental sales. So I was driving around Georgia and Alabama, selling teeth, like selling dentures and implants, which was quite the experience. So, so during that time, I took that year
I have a
to,
veneer. I don't know if that is like what
yeah,
you sell,
well,
but that's yeah.
but you had to send it off to a lab to get made, and that was what I did. So
Right.
I finished my work in about 3 days every week, and the other 2 days I spent trying to network my way into getting a job in tech sales. And I mean, I treated it like a different job. I was on LinkedIn every day. I was messaging people. I was having coffee with strangers. I was single at the time. I was on Bumble. Like Oracle if they had Oracle, SAP, Microsoft in their profile, I swiped and I would tell them, I would love to meet you. I'm not looking for anything, but I really am looking for a referral to one of these companies.
So you
So
went to the
true
dating
story.
apps to
True
go
story.
find people that were working in tech so you can network. That's
Yes,
brilliant.
but I did
That's
tell them
brilliant.
ahead
I
of
love it.
I did tell them ahead of time. I'm sure some
Yeah,
of them
no,
were
I don't
asking
think
more,
you
but
were
I'm like, you can get a
deceptive, but
referral
like
fee.
they're not going to say they're, if you're a guy and it's a single pretty woman, you might
Oh,
be
young.
thinking,
We're
hey,
like
you never know, I'll
25.
meet them. That's so smart. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And it did work. Like it got me some interviews. And so anyway, so fine. I really wanted a job at Workday. I wanted to try to leverage my previous experience with accounting software. So I really
Mhm.
wanted like Oracle, SAP, Workday.
Makes sense.
And so finally saw that one of my friends was connected with somebody at Workday, texted her. I said, hey, I want you to connect me with this guy, Matt. She's like, oh, Christina, you don't want to date this guy. I'm like, no, it's about a job. And so, anyway, one thing, I called him. He was great. He got me into an interview, and the person that I interviewed with decided to take a chance on me, got me a couple more interviews, and I ended up getting the job as a solution consultant. So I came into Workday as a solution consultant because of my prior experience, which I was a little bummed about, but in hindsight, it was a blessing. I got to experience net new evaluations. I got to know the product. And then 3 years later, when I went into sales, I was able to kind of hit the ground running on that.
What I like about your background, it's so interesting because I don't know if anyone wants to be in sales initially, like when they're, I guess they have a few sales courses in university, but most people land there because they want to make money and they just don't have other options to make money quickly. But you came from accounting, which can help with selling the CFOs, and you had the SC background, which can help with really understanding like the technology in there. So by the time you got into sales, you had a lot of, I'd say, business and technical acumen that.
Yeah, it definitely helps build credibility and also helps understand like if I didn't have a finance background, I'm not sure that I would understand like what they care about.
Yeah.
And so it definitely helps with knowing a little bit just about the operations
Did
of that.
you move right from, did you like go down the BDR path or you went right from SC to AE?
No, no. I mean, I think I was like 20, yeah, this is about 10 years ago. So I was 27.
Okay.
Um, and I mean, I made it really clear that I did not want to be a BDR.
Good, good. So you knew what you wanted, you went after it. This is like a know what you want, go for it. And it's like the all-in mindset. Like I'm all in,
Yeah.
going to Workday, I'll do what I need to do to get in. Which is amazing. I've never heard that in my life. Like going on a dating app to find people to network with that
Yeah.
work at a company that you want. That's so smart. I love that. Matt,
And some of them are still in my phone. My husband was like trying to look for something in my contacts. He's like, "Who is Matt Bumble? Who's John Bumble?" I'm like, "Oh, those are just people to help me get jobs later." Or, that was a
that's
long time
not a
ago.
good
That was a
conversation.
long time ago.
If my
But
wife
yeah,
found a Dina Bumble in my phone, I would be out the door. She would not. Yeah, I think.
I know. Well, I don't erase my contacts. I mean, I don't talk to them anymore.
Yeah, no, I love it.
But yeah, it's pretty funny. That was a few years ago too. So so yeah, it is, I think, in hindsight, looking back, every phase in your life helps, you know,
Mhm.
bring you into being like who you are at work.
Yeah,
So what keeps me motivated is, um, I mean, money obviously keeps me motivated, especially when you have been consistent, right? It's like, okay, well, I've been doing this now for 6 years. Like I've set up this life for myself, making this money. I need to continue to do that, whatever it takes.
sure.
And then also, just like I don't, it's hard to say like what keeps me motivated because I do have a strong work ethic. Both of my parents had a very strong work ethic, both of my brothers do.
Mhm.
And I don't really know how to work any differently. And so, I think being at a company that has a good product keeps me motivated, and being at a company that is giving me opportunity and doing things like I'm doing today with you, just kind of bettering myself is what keeps me motivated, and being in a network of people that allows me to do that.
So you're a mom and you're working 9 to 5. I'm very curious
Yeah.
how, so this is something that we teach. Obviously, you're in the program, but you don't have to work long hours. I work less than 40 hours a week. I'm probably the only CEO of a startup that's growing as fast as we are that's working. So I like your approach to like time management and discipline and like focus. Can you just elaborate on how you spend your time during your 9 to 5 and how you plan for that time to make sure that you only have to work 9 to 5? To
Yeah.
start, I think that would be a good place to start.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say, because you said that I'm a mother, is that when I became a mother, like my work, just even my outlook on work just drastically changed, right? Like I don't have a choice. My husband travels all the time. So I can only work 9 to 5. Um, and I don't want to be the mom that, I
Mm.
mean, sometimes this does happen if a deal is closing or something, like this has definitely happened. So no judgment, but I don't want to be consistently like giving my kids a distraction because I can't get my work done from 9 to 5. So it's really important to me that I get it done. And so, I think even being in the program is just it just taught me like I have to do revenue generating activities, and everything else is a third and a fourth priority. So every day, I look at my calendar. Every week I take things off of my calendar that are not revenue generating. I will say, for any people that work in a big company, like it is a little bit of a balance, right? Like I have been a top performer for several years now, so I have the ability to not join things, and it's okay. But just PSA for all the people out there, right? It is a balance. Like you have to build your brand a little bit internally, but the number one thing is to generate revenue. And that's what your leaders want you to do too. And so I just personally delete things off my calendar that I don't feel like are going to move the needle in my deals. And then every morning I have a really, thick post-it note right here, old school. And even though I write it down at the end of every day, but then sometimes I sleep on something and maybe I change my mind the next morning. And I write down like, what are the things that I need to do today before anything else gets done?
Mhm.
and what are those things that need to move the needle, and I make sure that no matter what, that those things get done. And there's a lot of different conflicts with working on with big teams, working in different time zones. I'm on a national team now, so there's a lot of things to take into account. So I need to be like prepared of how to get those done in my 9 to 5 time zone. So it's just like being on top of people, like holding people accountable for what you need, including and I work in with our customer base, so including my customers, like I need this from you because this is what I need to do today. So
It,
just holding people accountable and
it's funny you mentioned that. Just to
yeah,
elaborate on this point, by you putting it on your list, it's a sticky. I have my 12-week year. Everyone knows that here. It's like I have my sheet. Same idea. You're doing it daily. I'm doing it weekly. I have my weekly non-negotiables, and I white them out. If I start the week and I'm like, this doesn't really need to be on there, and I have 2 weeks. But by you getting, let's say you're getting to your third item, and it's dependent on someone else, you're going to be all over them to make sure you get the thing you wanted to get done. And that creates this level of urgency around holding other people accountable. Has that been your experience too? Because I know if I have something that's dependent on someone, but it's on my list, I'm all over them because I want to check that box.
yes. So I nicely harass people all day long over Slack. But I think it's important too because we work in such a collaborative environment on these deals. And I wish I could tell my leadership this and I need to, but I think it's important for everyone to understand like why you need something fast, what the outcome is, what is the risk if you don't get this, what happens.
Mhm.
And when they understand that, they're saying, okay, she's holding me accountable. Now I know, like, there's no excuse. I gotta get this for her and they need to prioritize this.
Especially
And
with clients, especially with clients.
yeah, I just wrote an email today and I was like, this is what we need from you. And I have to put it in Chat GPT to soften it sometimes. And,
It's
but
about them hitting their deadline or them getting their deliverables in time.
But being direct, and Ian, I think you are very direct too, which is also why you are so successful in your 9 to 5, is like you can ask things in a way that isn't offensive. You can ask for things in a way that is respectful. And I think people actually appreciate it. Like they appreciate you holding their hand. I mean, I had a procurement guy today. He's like, okay, yeah, remind me of this every day. I'm like, great, I will for sure. So you like they want you to hold them accountable. And you have to do that with people internally, externally, um, and be direct with them about what you need.
Yeah, just because someone doesn't get back to you, it doesn't mean they're not interested or serious. It just means they're busy. You have to like be on
Yeah.
people to make sure they remember. And people will thank you. Thank you. Sorry. They'll apologize. They'll say, I'm sorry that, I haven't got back to you. I
And
know it's on
other
my desk.
people don't know how to manage their time. So
Mhm.
mostly they don't. And so, you have to, that's why I think it's important to say, like, this is what I'm doing today. I have to do this later. I need this today. The customer needs it
So I,
today.
I want to dig a little deeper because a lot of these content's motivational, but I want to actually get into some tactics with you because you're so consistent. So first of all, just to paint the picture for everyone, what's your how many accounts do you manage at Workday?
This year I have 16.
Okay, so 16 accounts and you're in the enterprise space, correct?
Yes.
Is that like a billion plus? What constitutes enterprise
So
and
ours is employee based,
okay,
so it's 3,000 to 6,000.
3,000.
Really, the ARR is like anywhere from like 2 million to 4.
Okay, so they're spending 2 to 4. You're managing, roughly that sounds like $30 million territory or something to that, 30 to 50. Um, what is your quota typically in that period? Is it a renewal quota plus a new business quota, or is it just a new business growth quota?
It's all lumped together, but does have um components of renewal forecast in there as
Mhm.
well.
Okay, are you
That
comfortable sharing what the quota is, what the target is that you have to sell each year?
well, mine this year over the past couple years, it's been about 3 million.
Okay.
This year it's 1.9.
Oh, nice. Wow. How'd you negotiate that?
I don't know. I didn't negotiate it. I'm just like, I'm not saying anything.
They lowered it by 50. That's insane. So you're gonna have a
But
big
I will say that the last several years, my quota has been the highest of anyone in our organization.
Yeah.
So I've had a very high quota the last couple of years. It's been like 3.5.
Mhm.
Um, with less accounts, like last year I had a 3.5 and 10 accounts.
Yeah.
So
I,
yeah,
I,
I
I
mean, I got the quota and I was like, I'll sign
good
this.
for you. Yeah, no, I'm
Just
all
gonna
like,
keep them out.
okay.
Yeah.
People watch this. It really doesn't matter. It is what it is. You've earned
Yeah.
quota as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned. My reason I'm asking is you're selling realistically. If you had 3.5 quota, you're selling 5 million, 4 or 5 million a year. That's a lot of revenue, right? And fundamentally, I'd love to like have you talk about how you qualify. Maybe at the beginning of the year, you're an enterprise seller, you have all new accounts. How do you pick your bets? And then as the sales cycle progresses, how do you like make sure you're working with people that are serious? What are your kind of
Yeah.
strategies there? Because it's just so consistent. You've kind of, your playbook is working so well. I'd love you to just break it down for us if you could.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of it comes from one experience, but two, um, I think I was good before Untap Your Sales Potential. I think I really like crossed over after or during and after Untap Your Sales Potential. I think, I remember you saying if you have a customer or a prospect that really leans in with you, like they're likely going to buy something. Either way, they're going to give you a decision.
Mhm.
And I never believed when you said 80% of your quota can come from one account. I didn't believe that because of the average size of our deals. And we typically just have like more high volume.
Mhm.
Uh, and the year of Untap Your Sales Potential, 80% of my quota came from one account. And that account like really leaned in with me. And so I think it has to be a balance. And I think like getting a new territory and knowing where I got a new territory this year and I was like, wait, I don't really know where to focus my time. But I immediately got into the field and went to go spend time with these customers, even though I knew that, I was leaving my kids, I was traveling to some of these accounts that I knew weren't going to buy. But to me, knowing that they're not going to buy is just as important as ones that are going to buy so that you do know where to focus your time. And I think like what you say in the program too, if they don't want to talk to you, then don't spend your time there.
Mhm.
I think you can still try, but you want to minimize the time spent on those accounts because timing is everything. So you don't want to completely, not talk to them, but focus on the ones that are leaning in with you. If you don't know that much about those accounts or who the decision makers are, focus on research of those industries, which ones are growing. I now work in professional business services vertical.
Mhm.
And the plumbings, the HVACs, the field services types of companies are like booming right now, and construction's doing well. And so like I'm spending time with those types of companies, but I don't need to know. I knew that from the internet, right? I don't need necessarily to spend like a lot of time with them to know that they're growing, and PE is backing all of them. And um, so yeah, I mean, just focusing on like, doing some quick research and the ones that can lean in with you. And also like talking to their CIO is always a good idea to kind of get a quick sense. Like, what is their CIO's thoughts about if you're selling like a platform like I am, right? Like, are they a best of breed type of, is their philosophy best of breed? Is their philosophy platform play? Are they focused on innovation? Are they focused on optimizing what they have? So just kind of knowing like what questions to ask and being really curious about, what they are instead of sitting there asking like what their strategic objectives are.
A lot of reps get intimidated when talking to executives, CIOs. What's your kind of approach to
Um,
new account, never met the person? How do you go in? What's your general demeanor? Is it the same way you're talking to me now, or do you do more prep, or do you write out all your questions? Kind of what's your interaction like?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, I definitely do prep. Um, but I think also, something that I learned in the program is that we all put our pants on the same way.
Mhm.
And, just I explained my background earlier, like you never know where people come from. Most people want to hear, and like in my scenario, they have investments in Workday. If they don't want to talk to me, then that's kind of on them, right? Like I can help. They
Yeah.
don't trust me to know that I can help yet, so I have to earn that trust.
Mhm.
Um, But I think, depending on, um, I think you just kind of cross over the hump. You just, that we're all the same people. And when I say I prep, I want to make sure that I don't waste their time because that is a great way to never get on a call with them again.
What do you prep? What's your prep process look like?
I'm prepared for anything and I get a team together because executives like just kind of fly off the wheel. Like you never know what they're going to say. I mean, I just went to Charlotte and brought a whole team of people and we were prepared to talk about AI. We were prepared to talk about optimizing what they own. We were prepared to talk about, implementing these new things I thought they would be interested in. We were
Mhm.
prepared to go any of those different ways.
Mhm.
I had the CTO of Workday like on Slack to offer him to call in. So I was just kind of prepared for it to go anywhere, and it went in a direction that we were prepared for, but it wasn't like what was on the agenda, right? So, and that's typically how it goes. So I think just
Mhm.
being prepared for those meetings, anticipating like from your own prep, like I will even ask the lower level people, what is he like? Like, did the deployment go bad? Is there something I need to know? Where did he come from? What systems did he use
Mhm.
or she? Um, and just kind of getting some information ahead of time so that I can anticipate like any challenges that might be coming up. I look at like all of the cases that they've logged because he or she might bring that up. I'm saying he because I just saw one yesterday and this is coming to mind. Um, but yeah, just trying to anticipate the challenges and be helpful.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think you just kind of cross over when you see that we're all just people and you want to bring something to the table that they feel like you helped them.
You got
So
to be
don't,
you got to be authentic, and I
yeah.
think I like what you're saying about you're coming in with a point of view. You are. Maybe it's not like a specific, but you're saying there's a lot of things that we can help you with, and based on the research we've done and what we know, these are some of the top areas that I wanted to bring with you. And here's my team. I'd love to turn it over to you and say which of these is relevant or where are you most focused. So they see that you care because of you bringing some ideas versus what are your top priorities? What are your top goals? But you're not saying like when you bring a point of view or a hypothesis of where and how you can help, it almost never misses the mark. What it does is it builds trust and credibility for them to open up and tell you what, their priorities and goals are because they see you care and they see you have a team that's committed to helping them. Has that been
Mhm.
your experience too?
Yeah, and I think a magical phrase in front of an executive. So, for example, I just went to a clinical research organization yesterday, and in my prep, I did some research and I talked to some other AEs that also manage some CROs. And when I said in the room, here's what, X company is doing down the street, and Rick, the CFO, this is what he thinks about implementing this product and how it went. And this is the partner that they used. Oh, and they also just bought this. Like it kind of changed everything, right? And then at the end of the meeting, he's like, can you get me connected with Rick? I'm like, sure, I
Was
can.
Rick a competitor or was it someone that was tangential to their business?
Um, he was there. That one is not a competitor.
Hmm. But it was similar. You could
Like it
say.
depends on the drug that they're bringing to market, but that one was not
But it
competitive.
was still a drug company that was doing something similar to what you wanted to
Yes.
bring into this company.
Yeah. But also, I think, it was somebody that was local to the area, so he had heard his name before.
Yep. Yep.
And before I said that, he didn't know that Rick had been through a
Was
Workday
Rick your
deployment.
client?
No, somebody else's.
See, this is the beauty of because you're running the playbook perfectly. I mean, when you prep. Here's how we can help. Here's what you're focused on, and here's a customer who's done it that you probably want to talk to. And what I like is that it's not your customer, because you had to actually learn that story and make sure that Rick was okay using his name before. And you probably had to talk to a rep, I'm assuming, or read a case study. What did you do to like even find out about this other customer that was doing some innovative work with Workday?
Yeah, I just got a customer list of CROs. And because I know the product, like I know that that's a good fit for our product too. So I knew that we had some good stories
Mhm.
around CROs. And my CIO was new. So he did not come from a previous Workday customer. So I wanted him to know that like we're trusted in their industry. Um, but I think what's important too, when you think about consistency, and I think what is gets a little bit lost sometimes, and this isn't a question, I'm going off on a tangent here.
No, it's fun.
I feel very strongly about selling intuitively. Like we're so focused on data and following a process. And while a process is important as a framework, right? Like you are the owner of this account. You are the owner of the deal. You are the one that is bringing context
Mhm.
that you hear from your conversations back to the consultants, back to the enterprise architects, back to the partners, all the people that are going to go in and sell the product to them. But be intuitive about like, what are they going to ask? What do you think they're going to ask? Just use your common sense to think,
Mhm.
like, why would they buy this today? Why wouldn't they buy this today? What are the challenges based on what I know so that you can anticipate these things and go into a meeting knowing what to say? Because these days it's like less about the product and you're really fighting for like, will they spend time with you? Will they spend more time with you? If I can get their time, I can sell them Workday. But getting their time is really hard. And
Mhm.
getting their time again is really hard. So you got to make their time really valuable. And by doing that, like you got to kind of know like what's gonna make the most of their time and what do you anticipate that they'll be interested in and think that, is beneficial.
Do you ever get imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, a little less now,
It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem.
but
It
but
seems
I
like you're so
definitely
focused.
have.
It seems like you're so focused on them because imposter syndrome is like focusing on yourself. Will I hit the mark? Is it going to be relevant? Is this?
Well,
Will I
okay,
leave a good
so I
impression?
think focusing on yourself is also a really important thing because again, when I was in the program, like another thing that I think completely changed for me was, you talk about commission breath, and when you let go of commission breath, and if you're going to get a deal and you just kind of work as hard as you can and focus on and stay laser focused on what you need to do to move the deal forward, like the money just starts to roll in. You
Hmm.
don't need, when you can stop focusing on yourself and what you're going to get out of it and focus on what you need to do for them, it really changes things. And that takes some time to
I
do.
found that imposter syndrome goes away when you're focused on them because you're not thinking about yourself.
Yeah. I think that's true. And but yes, I do have imposter syndrome because I do want to bring a valuable experience to any session that a executive has agreed to have with me. I know they're busy and um so
So what is your process for booking meetings to get, you said it's really hard to get a meeting with an exec, and I get it. They're already a customer, but many times I know at Salesforce we would be
yeah.
our points of contact would be an admin in IT or a CRM administrator or maybe a director or VP, but getting to a CRO or CIO often wasn't something that my predecessors had ever done in the territory. We were kind of confined to one area, and I'm sure it's the same at Workday. So, what is your messaging like to elevate to higher ups that is compelling enough for them to take a meeting?
Yeah, so I'll say what I do. I don't know if I recommend this to everybody. Um, but I'm just laser focused on getting the meeting and then I figure it out later. I mean, I work for a big company that has a lot of resources. We have a big partner ecosystem. I've been there for a long time, so I know that if I say something, if I'm like, we should come in, and do whatever, I might suggest like I don't actually know that we can do that, but I know that I can find the people to cobble that together and make it happen. Um, but I like so selling intuitively is something that I think is really important. And the second thing that I think is really important is kind of taking it back to just simplicity. Like in an email, I just write, hey, I manage the Workday relationship. I've spent time this year with XYZ.
Mhm.
Thank you for being a Workday customer. We'd love to come on site, talk to you about AI, talk to you about what other, I'll use CROs in this example, CROs are doing and how you can get the most out of your investment. And I also want to hear about what you need from us.
Mhm.
And they're like, I mean, it's not always a slam dunk, but I'll put a sample agenda in. of what I think
Mm.
based on what I know about the account would
Mhm.
go well.
Mhm.
But my strategy like in the last 18 months has really been trying to get on-site meetings. Because I think that's just the best way to learn about the account. And I also think that like it's really hard to keep people focused these days. And when you're on site in person, they're only thinking about, in my case, Workday. And it's really hard to like you can spend all day on Zoom, but they're just not super focused.
Yeah.
Uh, so being, in person. But yeah,
Yeah, I think there's some comments in the chat about getting the talk track. So Melanie and whoever's listening, you say it's simple. It's actually not that simple. So first of all, you're building credibility. You're saying, here's
yeah,
what I know in your account, who's I've worked with. So it's immediately a warm intro. Okay. Secondly, here's what I know about your account. So here's who I know in your account. Here's what I know about your account. Here's what I think would be interesting. And here's a proposed agenda. Can we meet on site? That's a lot of prep for a simple email. So I think
well, we just don't need a lot of like, I don't say, we had this new AI for recruiting and, our customers are getting
yeah,
201%
you don't want to get in
high.
the
And
weeds. You want to keep it high level for sure about that.
yes, so keeping it high level. My husband has taught me also, like, sometimes I'll write emails. He's like, that's way too many words. He works in banking, so they barely even like greet each other. And yeah, so he's also helped me kind of um
Keep it simple.
yeah.
I think it's different. Someone's asking about new logos. I think it's different with new logos. I think when you're an account manager,
Yes.
when you're selling in, you really want to focus on like, we want to help you maximize the value you're getting from this partnership. With new logos, it's all about here's how we see the opportunity to help you grow your business. And it's really about, showing them that you know them versus, hey, you're already working with us. Let's really make sure we help. They're both about helping the clients, but one is a lot warmer to make sure they're maximizing the value of what they own. And the other one is more about helping them hit their goals and initiatives based on what you've researched. So that's really the difference,
Yeah,
Frank.
and for Workday, for us, like traditionally, our system has fallen under CHROs. So now it's mostly falling under IT.
Mhm.
So these new relationships with the CIOs are really still just becoming established. So and I think like now they're the ultimate decision makers. So getting in and kind of understanding how they think about things is really important.
Yep.
And then it's not net new logo, but the challenge is you get in there and they're like, we're paying too much. We don't like this. There's too many clicks, whatever. And so there's also a strategy for figuring out how do you listen and also generate revenue in an account that hasn't optimized their tenant in 7 years and has now grown to an 11,000 person company.
Mhm.
And so there's, quite a bit of challenges that come along with that too.
You got to get them healthy first before they're going to buy more in general. You got to listen. You got to make
Yeah,
sure
I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, you think that, but I think what they want is a plan. Because like I said, with a lot of these companies that are like more in the field services, the HVACs, the plumbings, the pest control, all these ones are growing so rapidly right now and being bought up, is they started as a super small company. They haven't done anything because they've been focused on M&A, and now they want to IPO or, they want to position themselves to be a much bigger company and scale to triple the size.
Mhm.
And to do that, you need optimized systems.
Mhm.
And so they really just want a plan, but then they also will buy new things, but it's a phased approach. And so those are the ones that I really focus on at the beginning of the year.
You have to show them you're listening. You have to, if you put in the sales hat and all the new stuff and don't give them the opportunity to complain
Yeah.
about the tenant,
Definitely.
complain about the clicks, like they're gonna think you're tone deaf. So I think it,
But you introduce them to a partner. You tell them that they have to spend money to get it fixed. We're not going to do it for free. You move past that, and then you get to a better place, and you start thinking about the future.
so tell me about, I want to make it a little more personal. So you got you got your consistency. You got actually one more question before I get into your own personal habits. But um, how do you, so you said they lean in, work with people who want and need your help, that are engaged. Work with people that want and need your help and that are engaged. They'll take meetings, they'll put resources in front of you. That's generally a really good buying sign? Are there other things that you look for to make sure that you're spending time with the right accounts, that 80/20 rule that you talked about, that you're going to invest? Like, what are the non-negotiables to make sure that you know that the problem is big, that the goals are big, that they really need your help? Other things that you ask or check to qualify fully?
Yeah. Well, so for one, I think people often want to have interest in things, but having interest in buying something is very different. And so I just kind of start with, I mean, I will just ask my customers, I'm like, are you making any technology decisions this year? Like I will just straight up ask them that. And I say at the beginning of the year, if I get introduced to an account, you know, please invite us to the table for any decisions that you make. We'd like to be included in those. Because the worst thing you can do is have them make a technology decision and you're not included. And so I say that up front. And then, I think during the year, as we talk with them and learn their challenges, sometimes they already know of something like a product that could help.
Mhm.
And when they have interest, I think you got to see like some things I look for. Are they staffed up? Like, do they have another big implementation going on right now? Like, if I've got if I've got a customer that's implementing like Procore or something, or like Bullhorn for staffing, or I don't know, doing a big Salesforce upgrade or whatever it is, like they're probably not going to take on a big project this year.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, I might ask them because it may not be the same group, but it's a good question to ask. Um, and then, what for me, it's are you focused on spending on optimization? Are you focused on spending on your strategic roadmap? And what does that look like?
Hmm.
And, when when I have generated interest in a product, I will take the customer through demos. I already am thinking early on about a customer reference because customer references are the best way to slow down a deal. And if you ask anybody at Workday what they think about me, they will say that I work fast and accelerate deals. So you have to be thinking ahead. Customer references take a long time, the scheduling, all those things. So maybe they don't need it, right? I ask because you don't want to add extra steps. Would it be helpful for you to talk to a customer? And that just immediately de-risk the situation if they feel like somebody else has done it in their industry and has been successful with it. Um, and then, I want to make sure that they have an idea of what it would cost and what the effort would be to deploy. I mean, these are all standard things, but just making sure that they're aware of all of these things, making sure that you're not adding in any extra steps that are
For the
not
pricing, you give them
necessary.
a range first early on? Like, how early do you give
Yes.
the
So
range?
I will give them like list price plus some, um, and say like when you decide, we can work on pricing because you don't want them to go dark. When you decide, we can work on pricing, but I need to know timing, and if you really want to move forward, and I'll need some exec alignment. If they push back on me about exec alignment, I explain to them. I'm very forthcoming. I say, look, I have to forecast these deals. Like I have a lot of pressure. So if I give you a price and you're committing to it, I need to know that your exec team supports this. Very rarely do deals get done without exec alignment. Um,
Hmm.
and I mean, I learned that from the program too.
What
Um,
what is your process for exec alignment, your talk track, and your process for bringing in your execs? Is alignment mean that you're meeting with them, or do you actually bring one of your execs in to meet with them? What does that look like when you say
um,
alignment?
it depends. I would say that I very rarely, I mean, I work in enterprise, so I'm not working with like massive companies.
Mhm.
Um, so I tend to not bring in leadership. I think we all know, what happens when you do that. Um, so I try not to. I will bring in my director. I like to have at least one other person on the call with me,
Mhm.
depending on who the customer is and how well I know them. But there's definitely times where it's just me, and I want to ensure that, they are also aware of like when this needs to be executed,
Hmm.
and asking them questions about, do they have everything that they need to make a decision? What else can I do? Do they need partner introductions for deployment? And so I just kind of make it seem like I'm trying to help the other person get
Hmm.
something done instead of it being for me. But at that point, we've already vetted out that it would work for their organization.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yes, I typically will bring somebody else, my director.
But your approach is more upfront. Hey, if we're really going to do this, we need to make sure your executives are involved, that they're supporting this, because it's going to take funding approval. It's going to take, um, removing some roadblocks, accelerating timing. And without that, we're facing an uphill battle. Is it something like
Yeah,
that?
and
How do
that's
you?
also a great way to gauge your
Uh-huh.
person that you're talking to, right? Like, how do they react to that question?
Hmm.
How fast can they get the execs on the phone?
Hmm.
And like, I just had a deal, and I mean, I've never done a transaction with them. And this woman she was the VP of HR, and she's like, I talked to Steven. He's going to accelerate the procurement process. You guys have a 15-minute sync tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., which is
Nice.
out of my working time, but
Yeah.
I did it for the deal. Um,
Not your
and
nine. Yeah. Hey, once in a
so,
while,
so
you got to bend
it's
the
a
rules.
it's a quick gauge too of, is this
Yeah.
deal really going to get done?
Hmm.
Does this person have influence at least to get time with the executive team?
Hmm.
Um, and if they don't, and if they get a little squirrely about it, then that's also a sign.
So my definition of a champion is someone who can get you in front of the economic buyer and the decision maker. That's it. They don't need to be able to sell it themselves. They need to be able to get you in front of them. So I love that question. Is that kind of how you position it though? Like your talk track for making sure? Because I see this as the number one killer of deals by far. I'm talking 99% of deals that lose, it's because you're not with power.
Yeah.
I cannot think of a single deal where $1 million deal, multiple, where you didn't have executives that you met with at some point. And that's across the board with any sales training organization will say the same thing. Um, I, I'm I'm curious. Do you ask them for time with their executive? Is that
Yes, because
that's
there's too
the
much that gets lost in translation,
yep.
especially with like our contracts. They can be, we're a platform, so the pricing can be a little confusing. And so I will always ask that first. Sometimes they say no, they want to communicate the pricing and things like that. But I also think that a lot of times the lower level people, even VPs, don't really understand what it takes to get something approved. So if you get on the call with the executive, it's also going to help you with your forecast and timing, because they're going to say, okay, well, I need to run this by the CEO, but he's out of town for 10 days, or he's traveling, or he's got a board meeting or whatever. So that deal isn't going to get done probably, in the next 30 days, probably going to be more like
You need to
45.
be talking about, you need to be talking to the people who know how to buy, know what the procurement process looks like, know what the approval and the funding process looks like, know what security, that's bought before. And if your client, if your champion can't tell you those exact things, that decision process and what that paperwork process looks like, you're talking to the wrong person, because that's what's going to make your deal slip. And then it's going to come across as pushy and pressure. You're doing it so that you don't have to have pressure, so you can actually help them without needing some,
But I
January
have done
31st close.
but I have done these things in my career too, where, I like at the beginning of my career, I did things where I forecasted a deal and I didn't have exec alignment and the deal didn't get done. And it's a bad feeling to say the deal's not getting done, it's pushing, and that's why it's great to be in a program like Untap Your Sales Potential, because you're having like this training and you're gaining this confidence of knowing what to do and hearing from others about what actually helps you get a deal done.
Amen. So last question. I want you guys to think about questions for Christina. Raise your hand. Use the little react button and put at the very bottom, raise hand, because we're gonna take questions from our community. But my last question is like on the health side and on the personal habits side, right? So you got your 9 to 5 at work, you're working on RGAs, you're focused. Amen to that. Well done. Okay. I'm with you right there. After work, I know what that's like. It's kids, it's dinners, it's
Yeah.
bedtime, bath, all that. You're like living my parallel life.
Mhm.
Um, what do you do for yourself? What are your personal habits as far as
Oh,
health, breath work, meditation, anything you do to keep your energy where it needs to be able to work with so much focus and then after work with so much focus with the children?
yeah. So I didn't say this when you asked me about the 9 to 5 thing, but I do think that that my like what you teach and untap your sales potential and like coming, I do a lot of things outside of work that allow me to focus on work. So
Mm,
everybody has different situations, right? So I have a great nanny who helps me with my kids. I trust her really well. Um, she, helps my whole life keep going so that I can do my job.
mhm,
Um, so I think it's important to outsource where necessary, and where you can so that you can focus on work because it's impossible to do a job like this and be really successful if you have, I mean, of course, we all have things we have to do, but when you're constantly focused on managing a lot of different things, it's just not possible. Um, and also, eating healthy, working out in the mornings. I don't like, I do workouts, but I at least try to walk every morning if I'm not doing a workout because otherwise I'm just not my best self. So just trying to focus on me. And again, like I rarely ever get on my computer at night.
mm.
Um,
Me neither.
because, and I'm tired. Like I need to go to bed, right?
What time do
There's
you go to bed and what time do you wake up?
I go to bed at 9.
What
I
time
mean,
do you wake up?
I can go to bed at 8,
Yeah. What time do you wake up?
happily. I wake up at 5:30.
Okay, so 8.5 hours sleep, which is really like an eight. If you're sleeping pretty efficient, you probably get 30 minutes of tossing or falling asleep. So you're
Yeah.
getting about 8 hours sleep a night. That's great. Um, okay, well, I want to turn it over. We got a lot of questions, so
Yeah, okay.
I could have you all day and talk detail on this, but let's turn it over to the community. Let's rapid fire these ones. Jake Carlson.
Christina, thanks. I got some good friends at Workday too, so thanks for keeping them employed. Uh, the
Yes.
thing,
Go
the thing
sales.
I'm struggling with right now, and I'm curious how this went for you, is I joined a new company about a year and a half ago, and I'm trying to work on these big deals. These are originate deals, not participate, and they're coming along, but it's like a leap of faith. And I'm trying to get my leadership to support some of these things and ignoring other things at the same time. And my boss is like, we got to chase every account. And I know from this community that is the wrong thing to do. Double down where people are leaning in, where you can get a big ACB deal. How did you navigate that with your organization when you were first starting? You didn't have that credibility of exceeding your number for 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the pressure from above is real. So on focusing on all the deals and even just pushing out, like we get all kinds of stuff that it's not good. And so I mean I just tell my leadership that I'm working on other things. I mean, it kind of depends how you navigate it, right? I've been at Workday for a long time, so I know how to navigate it.
It's it's being direct. It's
Yeah.
gotta be, you can't like, it's not even about credibility. It's about showing them. Like if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, I need this marketing campaign, invite this many people, they just dropped it." Like you have to do that. No. Do you want me to stop meeting with this person? Do you want me to not work this opportunity? I'm with these clients here. I can do it. I can do it next week. It's
Yeah, right?
literally like
Yeah,
it's
pushing
avoiding the
back.
fire drills and the stopping. What most people do that don't value their time is they'll stop what they're doing to make other people happy. What people that know the value of their time do is they work on what they're doing and say, what's going to give? You want me to not work this deal? You want me to not do this proposal? You want me to, like, when am I going to do it? And it's like, okay, got it. Like,
Yeah.
scare your boss with how decisive and how committed you are to your customers and to your plan.
That's great. Yeah, thanks.
Frank,
I I'm trying to work on the art of Salesforce notes
don't
and
do it
saying,
on your onboarding. Don't do it your first 90
yeah,
days.
yeah,
Like
Right.
no,
literally, when you're busy with real work and this is getting in the way,
yeah,
you need to communicate that. You got to be direct. You're running a business. So I think
exactly.
I just, yeah. Anyway,
Thanks.
I can talk to you offline about that in office hours. Frank.
Hey, what's going on, Christina? Thanks for jumping on this call. It's been great. Hey, I want to go back to when you mentioned how you brought your team down to Charlotte, right? And I think Melanie brought this up in one of in the chat. But how do you anticipate all the directions that a C-suite, that a C-level person might go? And a second part of that is how do you navigate the all of the personalities within the room? right? So if you bring your entire team and it's like, hey, I want you to talk to so and so, he's the solution expert here, or she's the solution expert for this, how do you, I don't know, how does that entire, can you walk me through like, I guess the workflow of that meeting?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I'm prepping with my internal team, so one thing I forgot to mention is I say like these are non-negotiables that we have to get through. And most of it is focused on what I want to sell them, but in a
Of
way that,
course.
you know, it like I'm going to say this is their biggest challenge. We have to address this first. Don't talk about any of these strategic roadmap items. I mean, my team, I get, like I said earlier, I get people together that I know can kind of pivot in the meeting and that I've seen. And sometimes I don't get those people, but I try to. Um,
Right.
and if you don't get those people, you just need to prep them for like kind of looking at you and making sure that you're the one that's kind of commanding the meeting and asking them to weigh in instead of like letting them go crazy. Um, but I do think it's important to prep properly, make sure that your team knows like the meeting may derail, but what are the three things that they like have to happen in that meeting and they have to leave knowing. So I think that's really important. And then navigating the personalities in the room. I mean, like I said, I prep with people at the organization beforehand. I try to anticipate like for that deal in Charlotte, I called the AE that had the other clinical research organization and I said, what were some of the things that they cared about? What were some of the things like at the end of your deal that the CFO raised concerns about? What happened during their implementation? So, I mean, it's really just doing some research. And I did do, I did get on Gemini and I did look at things like what do CROs care about? What are they focused on?
Right.
Um, but really, I was really hands-on, like talking to other AEs that also manage CROs. And that CIO, he was going totally off on a tangent about how hard it was to promote someone in Workday. And I'm thinking, I just flew like 10 people here, and this is not a good use of time because I'm probably not going to get another meeting with you for like 5 months. And, so in my head, I'm like, how do I turn this off?
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy, and I don't really know how I thought about doing it, but I was just like, what, like, can you tell me? I just switched it to AI. I mean, I was just like, I'm like, your feedback is heard. Like, I think I have a couple of ideas of how we can make that easier. I'm happy to share them with Stacy and you on an email afterwards. I'm like, I wanted to learn a little bit more from you about what your philosophy is on AI. How do you think about using it in the organization? I mean, I just kind of pivoted to a different topic that I thought he would want to talk about. And tried to just move on, right? Because in that sense, I was able to move on from the challenge and also get some information from him about how he thinks. And again, like it doesn't really matter what you're talking about. Like um think about what they're saying and how you can apply it to their decision making process. Like I had a big deal with an accounting firm and I took their COO to dinner before the deal got done. And he told me that it took him and his wife 10 and a half months to decide on a color of paint for their kitchen. And I know that sounds silly, but in my mind, I was like, this deal is going to take a really long time because, if somebody's explaining that and they're like, oh, I just want to make a decision super fast and move on, right? They're not super worried about risk. I know that's a silly example, but these are the kinds of little things that even I'm listening for to help me understand like people's personalities.
Sounds like it requires a lot of presence to be able to,
Yeah.
tune in. Intuitive selling, I love that word, but it's about being present, seeing people and pivoting to where, you feel the energy or the emotion, the reaction. Like when I'm coaching someone, I see like a hesitation or a pause. It's like, okay, I lean in. So you want to do the same thing in sales. I think that's what you mean by intuitive selling is really being present and seeing what's sparking, what's moving, where emotion is and leaning into that. Is that kind of how you?
Yeah, and also when you're in a room like that and managing personalities, what you need to have is confidence. You need to have confidence that you can do that you can lead the conversation in a different direction, and not kind of crumble and figure out like, oh, this is going in a really bad way because everybody feels the energy in the room. So,
Mhm.
and use your phone. Like if you don't know what else to do, just say, I'm taking some notes here and ping the other person in the room and say, can you figure out something to talk about? If you're really stuck.
Get them off the promotions at Workday. It's the topic. Please. Janice,
Um,
we have a few more. I want to make sure we get to the other question. Thank you for staying a little extra with us, Christina.
yeah.
Janice, and then we'll have Joshua and Michelle will be our last question. I think you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah, we can't hear you. You're not on mute, but the speaker's not working. While you get that sort. Oh, can you go again? Try again.
Hello?
Yeah,
Yeah.
now we can hear you. Good.
Okay. Thanks for all of this. I mean, I'm taking like 4 pages of notes, but I wanted to ask you about your process for researching. I know that we've gotten a lot of AI prompts that we're able to use here, but is there anything else that you use? I mean, aside from Google, like, do you guys have resources like intent data from Zoom Info or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, we can get all of that data. I mean, one thing that I do about research, I do all the standard stuff, like the Gemini, the Chat GPT prompts, which Ian has got some really awesome prompts that he's shared out. So I do all of that, but I mean, I think that I go the extra mile because I want to talk to people that have actually worked with the organization. So I'll call people that I know from Deloitte. Like I'll figure out who they're working with at Big Four. I mean, mostly all companies are working with a Big Four, and call a friend and say, "Can you look at this and tell me?" Like they have these little like I forget what they're called, but like matrix things. And they'll talk about like they'll at least have like their challenges, what they're trying to solve for. Or like I'll look at a non-competitive um vendor that they're using. And like, I mean, I have gone to LinkedIn and like looked at the Southeast rep and said, "Hey, can you tell me anything about this company?" They weren't a competitor of Workday, obviously. You know, you can't do that. But like, you just got to kind of go the extra mile to find out what you can, or look at like previous employees. Um, just kind of like think outside the box and how you can get more information about how they buy or what their challenges are.
One other thing, Janice, is talk to their people. Talk to the lower
Yeah.
levels and see if the problem exists. Really go down and like literally do some interviews. And I can say, hey, talk to your people. This is what's going on. I'd love to talk. So it's like internal lower levels are way easier to kind of get the lay of the land first, or people that sell to them.
And that, like, I mean, I know everybody's selling different things, but like back office people love free stuff. Like they don't get anything, right? Their back office, they don't get like showered with gifts like, the revenue team does. So they want like take a random team out for drinks and talk
Bring
to
them
them.
a tumbler.
Yeah, they love like,
Give them some swag. Give them
and
some pens and paper and
like they don't get free things. So they love that.
yeah.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Joshua, this is the third time this week. You're fully soaking in the new program, man. Good to see you.
I am 10 what is it, 10 toes, 10 fingers in right now.
Nice.
Christina, this is my first fireside chat, and this was wow, I'm absorbing all the content. This is probably going to be a very lighthearted question, but you mentioned earlier when you were looking at executive engagement that the way your method of doing it, you don't recommend for others. For me, it sounded a little bit unconventional. I don't know if there was like favorite experience of yours that you mind sharing that was like, yeah, don't recommend this one, but did it and it really worked out.
Yeah, so what I was meaning is I will just like spitball, oh, let's have a meeting and here's the agenda without like any kind of team pulled together or like know of it. I mean, I don't know people's availability, but I just know that, or I just hope that I can pull it all together. Um, and I don't say like, I think you gotta like take out all the little things, like just be direct. And if you have time, like secure that next meeting and say, here's what I think we should do in the next meeting. What do you think? Like, would that be helpful? And then just figure out how to make that meeting happen and get them to commit. So that's kind of what I meant. I think, if
Thank
you're a little bit less, like if you're new to something, you might need to check with some people before you promise a meeting.
thank you.
Well, last question, Michelle. Good to see you, Michelle.
You too. Thanks so much. We work with a lot of Workday customers at Deal, so very familiar. We have a lot of clients that love Workday. I'm very envious of your 9 to 5 schedule. It's my first year at Deal, which is just my first year in this industry, selling in this industry. So it's been a huge learning curve, very exciting, having a great year. But I have never had less balance in my life. So I'm working really hard, up late, up early, losing a little sleep over deals just because I care so much. And I'm trying to like get to that successful, consistent place. So it's going to be a great year for work, but not so much for the personal side. So given that you've been at Workday for 9 years, I'm sure everything didn't happen overnight. And I'm trying to give myself grace that, we can work on the success this year and the balance maybe next year a little bit better. But just curious, like when you were able to get into that flow with the 9 to 5, because I know this isn't sustainable because my family is so important to me and I don't have kids yet, but that's a stage I want to get to. And I have a hard time picturing it right now. So just curious, any advice on like how you got there, or if it did take you a bit of time, or how I should think about that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think you're in the right program. If these are the challenges that you're having, I definitely think you're going to learn a lot from this program and grow a lot. So, good investment there. I think there's phases of life, as you know, Michelle, that are different. Like, and I think like one thing I've learned is just kind of surrendering. Like, I didn't, my whole career hasn't been 9 to 5, right? Like making this kind of money for 9 to 5. Like I got here because I ended up here, right? Like, and it's gonna eventually get there. You're starting a new job. You're gonna figure out, you're gonna figure out who your resources are, how to get those. You're gonna learn more about the product, and you're gonna figure it out. So you just got to give yourself some time and make sure that you have some good habits in place to get to that better point. But I think, sometimes you just got to surrender to what it is, and you're trying to take in a lot of information right now. And that it will be temporary and that you will eventually get there, but still focus on the revenue generating activities because you can figure it out along the way. I mean, the best way to learn is getting a deal and figuring it out along the way versus like, I mean, this is my opinion, but figuring out along the way and learning from that versus like watching a bunch of videos. Um, you know what I mean? Like you're going to learn hands-on from these deals. So focus on those revenue generating activities and you're going to learn while you're doing those too.
I want to add one thing, Michelle, and that is the best way to get what you want is to experience the things you don't want. So we move away from pain. We move away from, the feeling of, oh man, I'm not present. I don't have enough time. I'm stressed out. I'm not sleeping, right? So this is the motivation, right? This is the motivation to work less is I don't want to. So you're gaining something. You're gaining knowledge of what you don't want. You don't want to have a stressful sales career where you don't have balance in your life. So take value in that. Take value in experiencing this so you have a roadmap towards having a more sustainable sales career. The second thing I would say is there's a law, and this law, if anyone who knows anything about time management will have heard of this. It's called Parkinson's Law. And we're going to be talking about this in the habits module. We're going deep in a little bit, but it says work expands to fill the time allotted. So what might take you 2 hours, if you only allow 45 minutes, it'll take you 45 minutes because you're going to work with more focus and more efficiency versus task switching or taking time because you just don't have the time. By Christina saying, I don't have another option. My kids need me to feed them and pick them up from after school at 5. She has to get that work done, which forces not only faster working, but more efficiency towards what you choose to work on. And so I would set some boundaries for yourself and watch the way you work transcend and transform and evolve into working on the right things and working faster. It's a forcing function. Having less time, right, will force you to work more efficiently on the right things. So I think set some boundaries for yourself. And that means saying no to smaller deals, saying no to low value activities, writing emails faster, not doing as crazy of research until you get the meeting and then researching prior to the meeting because it's already on the books, right? That all that stuff is absolutely going to go if you give yourself 8 hours versus 12 hours for a work day. I promise you. So work expands to fill the time allotted. Christina, you are awesome. I'm so excited to get to spend some time with you in Georgia, in the Barnsley. I'm very impressed, and I think you'll probably be doing more with this community, I anticipate. But for everybody who wants to get a hold of you or stay connected, what's the best way to reach?
Yes, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I do get on LinkedIn, but I am not that great at checking my messages. So please try me again. You can also email me if you want. It's christina.godwin@workday. But please connect with me on LinkedIn, and thank you all for giving me this opportunity. It was really fun to share some things with you. And just remember that, this is a great program. You're making an investment in yourself, and it will definitely make you better.
Well, I appreciate you so much, and congrats on your success, your
Yeah,
consistency, your family, and I'm so excited for your talk with Kelsey coming up in
that's gonna be
October.
great.
So I'll see you live then. All right, everyone, take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.